Hello, everyone. I'm Mayor Pro Tem Lauren Meister. Welcome to the City of West Hollywood's One City, One Pride LGBTQ Arts Festival. Each year, the City of West Hollywood celebrates Pride with its One City, One Pride Arts Festival, which runs from Harvey Milk Day through the end of June Pride Month. 41 days of Pride, but we all know it's actually 365 days of Pride in the City of West Hollywood. This year, we need to do this virtually, but we have a great program in store, so thanks for coming, and again, happy Pride.
Hello, everyone. Councilmember John Erickson here, and I want to welcome you to 2021's One City, One Pride LGBTQ Arts Festival event. I'm so excited that you are here, and I want to extend my sincere thanks to all of the staff, all of the amazing artists that are participating throughout the month, and especially to all of you who are going to be tuning in to all of these great programs. Thank you for helping us celebrate Pride, but most importantly, thank you for being part of our amazing LGBTQ community. Happy Pride, everyone, and enjoy the show.
You'll never know how much I really love you. You'll never know how much I really care.
Listen, do you want to know a secret? Do you promise not to tell? Whoa, whoa, closer. Let me whisper in your ear. Say the words you long to hear. I'm in love with you. Ooh, listen, do-da-do. Do you want to know a secret? Do-da-do. Do you promise not to tell? Do-da-do. Closer. Do-da-do. Let me whisper in your ear. Do-da-do. Say the words you long to hear. I'm in love with you. Ooh, I've known a secret for a week or two. Nobody knows, just we two. Listen, do-da-do. Do you want to know a secret? Do-da-do. Do you promise not to tell? Do-da-do. Closer. Do-da-do. Let me whisper in your ear. Do-da-do. Say the words you long to hear. I'm in love with you.
I've had to keep my homosexuality a secret only twice. The first 19 and a half years of my life, and Mondays through Fridays between the hours of 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. in the summer of '72. I'd come out earlier that year at community college. I was in the theater department, but achieved my greatest acting success during summer break on my job with the county road crew. Nassau Community College and the county were both situated on Mitchell Field, a vast decommissioned air base on Long Island. The college had converted Hangar 4 into their indoor-outdoor theater, so named because The stage was inside the hangar on risers, and the seating was on bleachers that were rolled outside onto the tarmac for performances. I was in their production of Funny Girl that summer. The road maintenance operated out of hangars 1 and 2 and its adjacent fenced-in yard on the tarmac. Each summer, to beef up the road crew, the county hired a small team of college kids, of which I was one. So I'd report to hangars 1 and 2 at 7 a.m. for work, and to hangars 4 at 7 p.m. for rehearsal. I'd spend my days cursing, sweating, and spitting with the road crew, and my nights cursing, sweating, and pirouetting, and dishing with the Stitch Queens during costume fittings. And only a few hundred feet stood between my two worlds. The men we summer hires worked with, the lifers, were blue-collar, white, working class, Nixon-loving, America love it or leave it Republicans. One had to be Republican to work for the county. Even we summer kids had to compromise our principles and register Republican. It was a different time. Politicians were merely and openly corrupt. And Republicans in those days were just wrong, not unhinged like now. Makes one long for the good old days. Now, those good old days were not completely unblemished. The road crew were predominantly of Irish or Italian descent, or as they called each other, mix and wops. As far as I know, I was the only yid. They all contemptuously referred to us college kids as those college kids when they weren't calling us hippies, which at heart we were, or homos, fairies, faggots, which of course as a group we weren't. I was the only secret homo. Of that I'm sure. 99.99% sure. The men were of another era and just happened to believe that homos were perverts who didn't deserve to live. I'd had 20 years of practice acting straight with varying degrees of success, but I had to be so completely over the top straight that summer that I was utterly believable. I'm living proof. I'm living. We mostly cut grass and whacked weeds along county highways, but also constructed and mended fences, cleared drains after storms, mixed and poured concrete. Real men's work. We spent a good part of the day traveling between job sites in our He-Man dump trucks. The thugs were up front in the cabs and us college kids in the back. And we'd ogle and yawp at women. Women in cars. Women walking. Women pushing baby strollers. Women pushing 50. As long as they were female with body parts in roughly the right places, the guys would go nuts. Whoever was driving would blow the horn and we'd all shout bon mot like, "Hey baby, looking good." Straight men are so strange. Even my reluctant Republican peers would lose it at the sight of a woman and join in. So I'd gamely ogle and yawp with the best of them. I was a natural and barely even had to act straight. Fooling my peers required more finesse because we worked together all day, and every conversation inevitably led to boobs or sports. Now, I was neither for nor against boobs, and it was easy to pretend to flip out over them. Sports, that was hard. You had to know things like teams, names, positions, whether it was played on a court or a field. I just agreed a lot and avoided conversations about what sports we played in school. Drama club and modern dance didn't count. I did everything to make sure they didn't discover I was gay, like changing names, pronouns, and fiddling around with every fact. I was beautiful. When we talked about Jones Beach, for instance, I had to substitute West End 2, the straight college kids hangout, for Field 9, the gay beach, which got washed away a few years later, and well, that's another story. But I had no problem inventing thing. My college ex-girlfriend, Jean, Jean. I'd met Gene, Gene, my first ex-boyfriend at school late in the winter. He was the dancer in the gorilla suit who waltzed with the MC in our production of Cabaret that spring. We'd split up during rehearsals, though. We didn't want to be tied down when we saw there were so many other able-bodied and willing Coreens. And oddly enough, I later dated the dancer who played the crocodile in the 1979 Broadway revival of Peter Pan. I didn't have an animal fetish, I just fancied dancers. I had all the bases covered at work, but it was hard to ignore my other world. We passed Hangar 4 twice each day in our dump trucks, leaving and returning to the road maintenance yard. Although I would be rehearsing with my ex and my next and the rest of the queens in the evening and hitting a gay bar afterwards, I only had a vague notion that musical theater had gay connotations. I thought it was our theater department, specifically. Anyway, my parents had gone to the city all the time to see shows with their friends. My father's record collection had, a couple of dozen original Broadway cast recordings. The indoor-outdoor theater drew huge crowds in the summers. So, courting possible danger or disaster, I invited some of the kids I worked with to see Funny Girl one night. I did have the wherewithal to prevent my two worlds from colliding by telling the guys that I had to leave right after the show for a cast party and couldn't see them until Monday morning. So, bye-bye, right after curtain call. While discussing the show Monday morning, and they loved the show, by the way, I mentioned that the dressing rooms were upstairs, and during some quick costume changes, all the boys and the girls had to change together backstage. You mean you saw boobs? That's all they cared about. Well, it was pretty dark, I told them, but yeah, I saw tons of boobs. It was all those boobs and my stick shift prowess. Not to mention my acting. That set my reputation in stone for the remainder of the summer. She's straight. And I would never again have to go undercover or rely on deception in the workplace. Homosexuality was either overlooked, tolerated, accepted, expected, preferred, or even tacitly required in subsequent employment. Oh, and I registered Democrat.
Times have changed, and we've often rewound the clock since the Puritans got a shock when they landed on Plymouth Rock. If today any shock they should try to stem, instead of landing on Plymouth Rock will land on them. In olden days, a glimpse of stocking was looked on as something shocking, but now God knows anything goes. Good authors too, who once knew better words, now only use four-letter words writing prose. Anything goes. The world has gone mad today, and good's bad today, and black's white today, and day's night today, and most guys today that women prize today are just silly gigolos. So though I'm not a great romancer, I know that you're bound to answer when I propose. Anything goes. When Grandmama, whose age is 80 at nightclubs, is getting matey with gigolos. Anything goes. When Marv because they decide they'd rather be tennis pros. Anything goes. If driving fast cars you like, if no bars you like, if old hymns you like, if Berlins you like, if Mae West you like, or me undressed you like, why nobody will oppose. And though I'm not a great romancer, I know what you're bound to answer when I propose. Anything goes. Anything goes.
Okay, that's definitely going in the show.
For the first few years of my son's life, it was just the two of us. We didn't have a television. I made all his baby food. In fact, the first time he had refined sugar was at his first birthday party. I had hand-rolled veggie sushi for the parents, and I had made, I had cut up fruit and cheese and grapes and whole wheat crackers and nori, healthy snacks for the kids. And then my mom shows up with a cake. He has to have a cake on his birthday, she says. I guess, but he was 1 year old. He didn't know the difference. Anyway, my heart sunk a little bit as he greedily shoved fistfuls of cake and red frosting in his mouth. I didn't let him have it for very long. I was just trying to keep him free from commercial culture. I wanted him to grow up with his imagination and make-believe. And he had very strong opinions from the time he was very young about what he liked, what he wanted to wear, which book we were going to read when we were going to bed, which shoes he was going to wear. Shoes? He had this pair of red, yellow, and green shoes. They were kind of sports shoes with Velcro. I called them his Rasta shoes. For a long time, those were the only shoes he would wear. I can't tell you how victorious I felt when I went back to the store when he was outgrowing those shoes and found a pair in the next size up. These were all kind of, amusing things to talk about with the other parents. There was the time that, oh God, he would only wear black and brown. We had a wardrobe full of primary colored gymboree clothes, but he would only wear black and brown. I was less forthright sharing about the time when he told me he wanted to wear a dress. I had this tropical print sleeveless shirt that I let him have. It came to his knees, kind of like a mini muumuu. He was thrilled. He called it his dress. He would walk around the house. Sometimes he'd put on a pair of red high heels I had. He said they were beautiful. It was fine until he told me he wanted to wear his dress to school. Despite me warning him that the kids might tease him, he insisted. Sure enough, when we walked on the playground, he had the dress on over a pair of shorts and a t-shirt. A couple kids on the jungle gym start chanting, "Sashi's wearing a dress, Sashi's wearing a dress." I had the instinct to strangle some tiny throats. I also felt really guilty, like I was failing him as a parent, like I should have protected him. Should I have insisted that he'd leave it at home? Or was I doing the right thing, allowing him to express himself? He was very strong-willed. There was the added layer of the fact that I was a single parent and a queer parent. Were the other parents judging me? I took him into the classroom. I sat him down and I said, I can take it home if you've changed your mind, but he hadn't. And he was still wearing it a few hours later when I picked him up. He never asked to wear it to school again, and I honestly can't remember if he wore it at home again. He moved on to another phase. This is Bedecked by Victoria Riddell, and I am Lauren Peterson. Tell me it's wrong, the scarlet nails my son sports, or the toy store rings he clusters, 4 jewels to each finger. He is bedecked. I see the other mothers looking at the star choker, the rhinestone strand he fastens over a sock. Sometimes I help him find sparkle clip-ons when he says sticker earrings look too fake. Tell me I should teach him it's wrong to love the glitter, that a boy's only a boy who loves a truck with a remote that revs, batteries slamming into corners, or Hot Wheels loop-de-looping off tracks into the tub. Well, then tell me, it's fine, really, maybe even a good thing, a boy who's got some girl to him, and I'm right for the days he wears a pink shirt on the seesaw in the park. Tell me what you need to tell me, but keep far away from my son, who still loves a beautiful thing, not for what it means, this way or that, but for how facets set off prisms, and prisms spin up everywhere, and from his own jeweled body, he's cast rainbows, made every shining true color. Now try to tell me, man or woman, your heart was ever once that brave.
Careful the things you say, children will listen. Careful the things you do, children will see and learn. Children may not obey, but children will listen. Children will look to you for which way to turn, to learn what to be. Careful before you say, listen to me. Children will listen. Careful the wish you make, wishes are children. Careful the path they take, wishes come true, not free. Careful the spell you cast, not just on children. Sometimes the spell may last past what you can see and turn against you. Careful the tale you tell, that is the spell. Children will listen. Guide them but step away, children will listen. Temper with what is true, and children will turn, if just to be free. Careful before you say, listen to me. Children will listen. Children will listen. Children will listen. When I was born, my brother was 8.5 years old. He was a great brother. He would rush home from school to play with me, take me for walks, push me in my stroller. He taught me a lot of songs, and he taught me to imitate Mae West and Betty Boop. Even when he went to high school, being busy with his Big Apple dance group that he used to take around everybody to demonstrate, and his jitterbug contests, he still would come home and teach me to dance, take me swimming. After college, he moved to Bermuda, but he had to come back and get in the war, and so he joined the Navy. I was a teenager when he was in the Navy, and we kept close touch. We became very close and bonded because we both found out we were gay. One day, he was here visiting, and we were in his room, and we were upstairs talking and whispering about our secret lives and our relationships. And he opened the closet door, and he looked in and said, "What's that?" I said, "That's my maid of honor dress and gown and hat that I had to wear at our cousin Jean's wedding." Well, my brother took off his shirt, took off his tie, grabbed that dress and put it on, and put the hat on and started prancing around the room. I laughed. It was so funny. I grabbed his shirt and tie and put that on over my t-shirt. Then we pretended that we were at the debutante's ball, and we danced around, laughing and bumping around. Suddenly, I heard my mother call from downstairs, "What's going on up there? What are you two laughing at?" And I stopped and I went, I said, "Mother, we're just telling each other stupid stories and making funny faces, and we're having a good time." And she said, "Oh, I'd like to come up. I want to laugh and have a good time too." I turned to him and he turned white. I took off the shirt and tie and threw it on the floor. He reached down and tried to get the gown off over his head, and I had to help him. It would not come off. We struggled. Finally, he reached to the gown and tore it and rolled it up in a ball and threw it in the closet just as my mother rounded the corner of the room. She saw us in there. We stood there, Jack shirtless, me with a stupid look on my face, probably. She looked, she said, "What's so funny? What were you doing?" So I said, "Well, Jack was just bragging to me about all the time he's been going to the gym, and now he's developed all these muscles. So I asked him to take off his shirt and show them to me. And he did, and we started laughing because, Mother, look at him. He doesn't have any muscles. Look at how skinny he is." And she looked and she said, "Yeah." I said, "But isn't that funny?" And she said, "Yeah, that is funny." She turned around and left and said, "Dinner's ready." Well, as soon as she left, we went into hysterical laughter again, but we had to grab the pillows off the bed and put them to our faces so they wouldn't hear us. And I wish that Jack and I could have gone down to our family and said, "You know, we're both gay." And they wouldn't turn against us. And they would really listen to us.
Hollywood, 1956. Dear Tony, I was up late the other evening, thinking about the many encounters we shared over the past few days. Who would have known I would become smitten so soon? Having to sneak around with this daily restraint has made me realize how much of my life is under studio control and how much of the real me is taking second place. I know it seemed at first too good to be true, but I feel safe around you. Like being able to choose our quiet moments where we can be ourselves. This kind of honesty is something I've longed for so long. I still remember our first meeting at the Chateau Marmont. Had I not decided to stop by for a swim, I don't know if we would ever have met. I remember how coy you were during that introduction and our long talks about the movie industry. But then you invited me to your room. What I didn't expect were the chemistry and the warm hugs we shared. I could have danced all night. I could have danced all night. And still, electricity strikes the soul of my existence. How I wish it were different, and we could be ourselves without having to sneak around and secretly plan our get-togethers and public appearances. Why can't we just go to a movie and enjoy ourselves without having to dress up for a charade? Still, the thought of not getting together with you is not something I'm willing to compromise. Lately, I realize you're growing more and more uncomfortable with the thought of being seen with me. And as much as I agree with this sentiment, the alternative of not being free in public distresses me. I can't help feeling at times you are reticent. You pull back the shutters and the drapes, and then have a change of heart. I never want to feel this way. This brings me to why this letter pains me so. When you told me Paramount Studios had purchased the rights for Fear Strikes Out for you, my heart dropped. You knew how crazy I was about that script, and how much I wanted Warner's to make an effort to buy it for me. My whole world changed at that moment, Tony. It's as if I suddenly woke up and realized I would never be more important to you than your career. This threw me into a tailspin, and I don't think you know how much it affected my growing love for you. Always in friendship, always in love. Tab.
Scott and Dave here, my guide dog Dave Thunder Bernstein, and I'd like to introduce a new member to the group, My Hair. It's now an entity unto itself because it hasn't been cut since before the plague of 1918. Dave, when you smiled at me, I heard a melody. It haunted me from the start. Something inside of me started a symphony. Sing when the strings of my heart was like a breath of spring. I heard a robin sing about a nest set apart. It just seemed to be in perfect harmony. Zing went the strings of my heart. Your eyes made sky seem blue again. What else could I do again but keep repeating through and through? I love you, love you. I still recall the thrill. I know I always will. I know we'll never depart. Dave, with your snap to mine, a rhapsody divine. Zing went the strings of my heart. Here's when we would dance, but ba-da-ba-ba-da-da, a woofy woof, ba-da-ba-ba-da-da, a woofy woof, ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da, ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-wow-wow, ba-da-da, ba-da-ba-ba-da-da, zing! Hey, Charlie. Your wise and made skies blue again. What else could we do again but keep repeating through and through? We love you, love you. We still recall the thrill. I know he always will. We know we'll never depart. Charlie, Thunder's doing fine, 'cause you wrote a rhapsody divine. Sing when the strings of my, you love them? Sing when the strings of his, yeah man. Sing when the strings of your heart. Yeah man. Happy birthday, Charlie. We love you. Say woof woof. There you go. Happy birthday. I gotta go take my medication. Bye-bye, Charlie. We'll see you soon.